Welcome back to Just Hear Me Out, a podcast about love, life, and hair. Today we are focusing on hair. I am so excited and honored to have a guest on who was my first salon owner, boss, Alex Ioannou. He's doing a Vogue if you're not watching on YouTube. So, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're just listening, you can always go to YouTube or Just Hear Me Out. So today, I really wanted to focus on the topic, how is the hair salon business evolving? So this whole hair salon industry. And just to give you guys a background, so when I first got out of beauty school, cosmetology school, I interviewed at 3 or 4 different places. I decided I just really wanted to be a colorist and I wanted to work in Chicago's Gold Coast. And Alex was my third interview, and that's who I went with and worked for him for over a decade.
Good Lord.
I can't remember exactly how many years, but
Yes.
it was a lot. So he was the owner of Trio Salon. And in lieu of an introduction, I wanted to read off the highlights of his CV. So, are you ready for this one?
Okay.
So,
I don't know where you got that from, but
I did my research. I was digging. So Alex started his career at Sassoon's in London. He moved to Chicago after that and became artistic director at Sassoon's in Chicago in the Gold Coast, yes?
that was in 1986.
In 1986.
Probably before you were born.
No.
Oh.
Thank you, though. I appreciate that. Then he worked as National Director of Education at Heidi's, a prominent salon in Chicago. And then after that, he opened Trio Salon with a couple co-owners. And Trio Salon was in business for about 28 years.
28 years, yes. We nearly made it to 29, but 28 years, yes.
28 and 3/4.
28 3/4.
And during that time, opened 2 others so that there were 3 salons, which made up Trio Salon.
Correct.
Then eventually he merged Trio Salon with another salon in the Chicago Gold Coast area, and then proceeded to be managing director at Ooh La La Salon in Key Largo, Florida.
Yep.
And this is where it gets dicey. There's a whole bunch of things happening at the same time. Circling back just a little bit. So, and also Alex has been a platform artist and educator for Arojo.
Yep.
Aquage and From. And in 2020, he opened a coaching and education business called Alex Hair Coach,
You got it.
focusing on salon business coaching and more master's level haircutting
Correct.
education, correct? All right. And his website is alexhaircoach.com, just how you would think it's spelled. And he's on all the socials as Alex Hair Coach.
You got me in a nutshell.
So, because of all these things, I feel that he is uniquely qualified to explain to us the past, present, and future of salon business and the salon industry.
Whoa.
It's a tall
Okay.
order.
That is a tall order. But first of all, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been a minute since we last got together, and I cannot tell you how happy and how proud I am of where and who you've become.
Oh,
It's
thank
incredible.
you so much.
When we started working together, we were little babies.
Yeah.
Maybe not me so much because you can see
No.
my gray hair.
We both were. Yeah.
But it's been a minute, and it's been really, really interesting to kind of see your journey as well as other people that we worked with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I just watched a podcast episode or podcast where they were explaining the different types of people in your life as mirrors, windows, doors, and keys. And you pretty much have one key,
Gotcha.
which is your partner. And I was thinking about several people in my life, and I thought of you as a window, someone who sees what you can become,
Sure.
not just what you are at the moment.
Well, thank you. That is
Yeah.
a huge compliment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see myself as a bit of a connector. I mean, in all the years that I've been doing this, I've been fortunate and privileged and honored to meet a lot of people. Somehow, this person would really get along well with that person, and I kind of do the introduction. And so, yeah, connections.
Yes.
But, Trio back in the day was a huge connector. I mean, for being open as long as we were, we certainly went through a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good time. I'm assuming you're going to ask me questions about the
Oh,
past.
yes. Oh,
That's-
yes.
Okay.
But I am proud to have been a solid decade of the Trio history.
Yeah, that's
put it
pretty
that
darn good, girl.
Yeah. Now, Can
Sorry.
you? Oh, you're fine. Now, can you explain? Because I think a lot of my audience is people who are interested in hair, or even just go to salons, the salon culture, environment, all of that, or even for other hairstylists. Can you explain what a platform artist is?
Sure. So, platform artists, to put it mildly, is like a performing seal, basically. So, I'm up there on stage with my little Michael Jackson microphone,
Yes.
and I pick up a product and I say, guys, you're going to love this hairspray, and this is how to use it. And essentially, it's promotion and promoting the product that you're representing. And, I did that with Aquage, I did it with Arojo, I did it with a company called Unite, I did it with Redken, giving all these guys a plug. And of course, I did it with From, and From was a scissor or shear company. And, I was promoting their shears as well. So, yeah, I've been fortunate to be able to kind of get out there and do it.
That's exciting, though. And that's generally for your audience are hairdressers. And as a platform artist, you would primarily work at hair shows. Is that right?
Correct. It was mostly for other hairdressers that were looking for education, inspiration, what's the new products out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And man, with all the titles you've had, you've kind of been in every facet of salon business.
I've been again fortunate enough. I started, as you said, with Sassoon, and as the creative director there, really I was in charge of quality control. So I made sure that the quality was there, the training was there. It would not be unknown of me to chase a client down and bring them back in the salon and say, yeah, I got to tweak your cut. It wasn't as good as it needed to be. So yeah, that was my tough days. And then I've become a lot more mellow since then.
Oh, very good. Well, it's nice to know that there are people controlling that in a way just to keep the standard.
Well, that's the key. And I think sometimes, certainly now, we look at the social media platforms that are out there, and it seems like everyone and their mother is a platform artist and an educator and indeed a coach. I regret using the word coach in my new venture because everyone is a coach. But if I could take a second just to give you a breakdown, when I look at the word coach as opposed to consultant, and I say this with all due respect to my consultant friends, a consultant will show you a way and they expect you to take on that way. Whereas for me, a coach is I'll come in and look at what you're doing and help you make it better, without necessarily changing it. It's your business. It's your way. How can we improve it? How can we get the results? Great analogy is you go to the gym, you know what you're doing, right? And the minute you get a trainer in, the trainer will show you if you stand this way, or if you pick up the dumbbell that way, or if you stretch that way, you'll get the results that you would get on your own, but you'd get them quicker and hopefully with less damage.
Yes. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, no one wants to get hurt.
No. I've started taking Peloton classes. So besides the cycling, they have the most amazing stretching classes. And I keep telling people all about them. And everyone, including my husband,
Good.
says, I know how to stretch. Like, you have no idea. You give me a foam roller. This woman showed me 17 things I didn't know were possible.
Right.
It's amazing.
And that's really case in point. So with the word coach, of course, you don't have to necessarily be certified or licensed, so everyone is a coach. If you're looking for a coach, interviewing them is just as important as them interviewing you, right? So it's kind of like searching for a job. Credentials mean a lot. Have they owned a salon? Have they worked on stage? Has the salon been successful? How many years have they had it? What type of experience does that coach have? My coaching is geared towards the education avenue as well. So as I teach a haircut, I'm, coaching business, how to build your clientele, how to sell a product.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
All right. So I want to circle all the way back to how did you know that you wanted to become a hairstylist?
Well, that's probably 100 years ago. Great question. So I'm going through the throes of high school and college with my kids. And as I say to them, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So it just happened. I was fortunate enough to be getting my hair cut by a friend of mine who was at beauty school. And it was a room full of beautiful young girls. And I was like, I want to do this.
Sign me up.
So, yeah. And then that's what we've been doing ever since.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. So
Now, and how did you come to work for Vidal Sassoon?
So Vidal was, at the time, it was definitely the place to be. So I had left the equivalent of beauty school in England, and I was working as a stylist somewhere, but it wasn't the journey. No, I wanted more. So I left and I joined Sassoon as an assistant, and I went through their training program. I was lucky. They hired me. They thought, oh, okay, well, let's take a chance on this guy. And they hired me, and it all worked out very, very well. And then they asked me to come to the States. And I said, sure, anywhere but Chicago, because back in the day, it was either New York or LA. And they said, well, can you go for 6 weeks? And I said, fine, I'll come for 6 weeks. And that was in 1986, and I'm still here.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, I like it. Yeah, I became a citizen too, so...
Now, and what was your apprenticeship like?
Apprenticeship back then was tough. It was an 18-month program. You had to decide if you wanted to be a cutter or a texture specialist, color and texture specialist, and I chose cutting. You were the lead singer of the rock band if you were a cutter at the time, and that's what I wanted to do. And it was an 18-month program, very rigid, very strict. And we had certain haircuts that we had to learn, more so of techniques. And then every 3 months, you had a test or an evaluation. And if you passed it, you moved on to the next one. And if you failed it, you had to wait another 3 months. So there was a incentive to kind of get through the program. Yeah, minimum wage, lot of hours. I mean, not minimum wage like now. We're talking minimum wage 20, 30 years ago, and a lot of hours, extracurricular stuff. So yeah, it was tough. It's a lot easier now.
Yes.
So,
yes.
of course, everyone says it. Not like when I was a lad.
Yes. Well, it's true. I do. I know that I had it much easier than you had it being an apprentice. And I talked to Katharina, and her experience was in the middle of those two. And now it is totally different.
Yeah, completely different.
Now, how do you think it's different today being an apprentice?
So you don't have to do an apprentice program here, right? Once you go to beauty school and you get your license, you technically can go on the floor. Most downtown salons in Chicago have an apprentice program where they have continued education. Salon owners have been forced, we certainly were when we had our salon, to change the program to make it more palatable and not necessarily diluted, but just not as long. So mine was 18 months of additional training. Nowadays, you'll be lucky if you're a year, 6 months, 8 months. So of additional training. Yeah. And it's really about, cramming things in. We did class once a week. Now you can do class 1, 2, or maybe 3 days a week to kind of get you on the floor sooner.
Yeah.
So
I always likened it to like high school versus college.
Right,
like once I became
right.
an apprentice, that's when I really learned what I needed to know
Yes.
to do the job.
It's boot camp, isn't it? And, I like to think that there's training for everything, but if you're going to be in the forces, I mean, be a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's what I want to go for.
Now, if anyone listening isn't sure of this term, departmentalized in hairstyling refers to, as Alex was just saying, you either are a person who cuts hair and styles hair, or what I do, which is chemical. So chemical retexturizing or color.
Correct.
Now, do you think departmentalization is best, and why?
So when we started, we were certainly departmentalized because you do not want me coloring your hair, number one. And as a salon owner, it's probably best for the salon if you are departmentalized. However, I know people that do both, that do extremely well, that are both, that are really, really good at both. And then I know people that just do one and they're so-so. So I think it all depends on the person and what you prefer to do. I don't want to spend that much time with my clients, so I prefer to cut them in and out.
Yes, that's fair. Now, what would you do to learn if you were starting out as a hairstylist today? Would you still go to a higher end salon and try to be an apprentice?
Probably yes. I would search out the salon that, number one, offered an education program, and I'd want that program to be formal, meaning I don't want to follow you around and then you tell me when I'm ready. I want to know what I'm going to learn, how long it's going to take, what I'm going to be paid, and what my career path is going to be. And I also want a salon that has the right culture for me. Is it clean? Do they have staff meetings? Is there an education program? What's the career path? Where's the salon going? What is it doing? What products do they carry? How much do they charge? Right? What music do they play?
Yes.
All of that stuff, is very, very important to develop your thing. Right?
You got to be comfortable there that
Absolutely.
they're your people, your
Absolutely.
tribe. So interestingly, I have heard rumblings within the last several years, I think starting in 2020, to be honest, where the U.S. government might not regulate hairstyling in a licensure or beauty school in particular. And I heard a really interesting discussion about this, talking about how part of that, the reason for that, because I mean, to most of us, it's like, oh my gosh, really? Like, why would you ever do that? But that people aren't learning much from cosmetology school.
Yeah.
Which is kind of true. I will say, I think of high school, and I also get really irritated. I mean, you didn't go to high school in the U.S., yeah.
Right.
But like, why did they not teach us in high school basic baking skills? How to do your taxes?
Yeah.
How to do laundry?
Yeah.
A lot of these basic life skills. And in cosmetology school, I did learn. There's probably a month long where you learn really important things about, sanitation versus sterilization.
Correct.
How to not spread diseases, it's a very hands-on job, right? But after that, it was a little touch and go. And certain things that I learned from being an apprentice, it was invaluable. And also, I feel like anybody should learn some of those things in beauty school.
Correct.
So, for one, how to shampoo well. I don't know that I've really mastered it after 20-something years, but, how not to get water in people's ears. All these little things. And something like customer service, stress management, how to deal with difficult clients sometimes, how to consult and manage expectations. Also, one thing that I have just loved my whole hair career is the amount of knowledge I got as an apprentice on the different types of blow drying.
Correct.
Like blow drying to check a haircut, blow drying to style it for fun, blow drying for a color finish to be nice and fast. I could not believe it when I got there and they said I'm not allowed to use clips.
Got it.
And I never use clips, and it's the best thing ever.
Yeah. It's interesting. Everything that you just mentioned, right now beauty school is what, like 1,500 hours or something like that.
Yeah, in Illinois.
Yeah, in Illinois. To learn everything that you just said, it probably would need to be about 3,000 hours. Right?
Yeah.
So I think at beauty school you learn the basic minimum.
Yeah.
You have to learn sanitation and all of that, regulatory stuff. And, the misconception is that you'll come out of beauty school and you're going to be, superstar. And it's not going to happen. But you have to kind of continue your education and go through learning for all the things that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
The different types of blow dryers, dealing with clients, all of that stuff. There's only so much they can teach at beauty school, which goes back to my point with apprenticeships and training programs. If you're going to choose a beauty school, choose one that is not necessarily has a great reputation. Hopefully it has a great reputation for a reason, but what are they doing extracurricular? So I teach at the Cosmetology and Spa Academy 2 days a week. And this gentleman, Ned, has 4 locations throughout Chicagoland: Elgin, Rockford, Crystal Lake, and Schaumburg. And I alternate on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Now, I'm not a staff member. I'm not part of his crew. I'm a freelancer. And he pays me extra to come in to teach. He doesn't have to do that.
That's genius.
It's great. And it's great for me. And I think it's good for his reputation. And it's good for the students. And it's good for the teachers. And so it just adds that little bit of extra, extra. Yeah. A little extra.
No, that's a huge bonus to be able to get information from you, perhaps another person, or their backgrounds.
And he often brings in, I think once a year, someone in from Europe, from London.
Oh.
I said to him, now that, with my English accent, you don't need to do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, twofer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the education, the continued education, the extra education is super, super important. So choose your beauty school wisely.
Yes. I'm kind of shifting gears, but a really interesting topic for hair business right now, more current time. Going back just a couple years, so back to 2020, it really shifted everything, for everybody. Certainly for the hair salon business, because, we obviously weren't allowed to even work for several months. At that point is when I opened for myself a salon suite, which a lot of people did. It was a huge kind of, they already existed, but a lot of us who wouldn't otherwise do that went that route to be able to be in a room where it's just me and that other person, for those germaphobes, which was a real thing back then, for 2020. And also because I do know, I am quite a math person, that you're not making more money by having a salon suite than you would as an employee of a salon. But if it's important enough to you, there are certain freedoms you have by doing that. And also with the pandemic, I was concerned that it was going to change the structure of the formal salon for a long, long time. And that would affect my ability to make the same as what I had been. But I was listening to another business podcast that was so interesting, blew my mind. I never even thought of it this way. But she was describing like predictions of what's next and how, I keep hearing facts about like how when someone opens a small business within the first year, I think 20% of the people will drop off.
Yes.
And, within 3 years, within 5 years. And part of me, just being a prideful person, I'm like, no, I'm not going to.
Yes.
I'm not going to close my doors. But really interesting, there's a pretty high percentage for 5 years. So that'll be 2025 coming up.
Right.
And I will say, I don't think of it as like a failure per se, but I think a lot of people who don't want to do all the extra things, and there are things that are really, until you're there doing it, you don't think of, such as it is so bizarre after doing hair for like 15 plus years to be the person who checks out your client and to tell them that conversation is just a little bit odd.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things when you're trying to keep that luxury status and, it's different. So I do think salon owners are going to have an influx of hairstylists. I'm not saying I'm necessarily going to do that, but such as myself who have a lot of experience who will want to go back into that salon family.
We're actually seeing that a lot, to be honest.
Oh, already?
Yes. I think you hit the nail on the head. It was almost like a fad. And a lot of these salon studio places are opening up all over the place. Can you make money? Yes, of course you can. But only if you have a clientele. I don't get it when people want to leave beauty school and open up a suite or do chair rental because you don't have a clientele. So you need that clientele in order to justify your income, right? But there's pros and cons to everything, I'm an ex-salon owner. I'm not now. I'm an independent, and I'm what I call the nomad hairdresser. I work in 3 different locations, 3 different separate salons. If you were to come to me when I had my salon 20 years ago and told me that that's what you wanted to do, I would have said absolutely not. So you're either with us or you're not. But the way things have shifted now, and maybe it's my age, maybe it's my experience, maybe it's what I bring to the table. It's more than just client base. And, I'm this nomad hairdresser and I work in 3 different salons. But I know well enough that when I'm in X salon, I give it my all. I give it my 110%. And then when I go to the other salon, I give it 110%. So it's about being able to morph and work your way into that culture.
Yeah. And certainly if the salons you're working at aren't so close to each other that they're competitors. Now, let's touch on how did you choose to close Trio Salon? And merge it with another salon with clientele?
Yeah. So the closing was really organic. It was really just what was going to happen. We had been at our location on Wabash for 15 years, and the lease was up. And our landlord, I think, got greedy. I'm not going to say as they do, but he got greedy and wanted to increase our rent by 30%. And I said, no. I was expecting an increase because it happens every year, 3, 4, 5%, whatever. But 30% would have taken us pointless. So I said no. And there was a gentleman that would come to us to get his hair done who had a salon. And I said, hey, want to merge? And he was like, yeah. So, so I said, okay. So we did it, and it happened quickly, and we shut our doors February 10th,
2020.
2020, right before the pandemic.
So you have what a layperson would call ESPN.
ESPN. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it happened, and it was great. We shut the doors on my Instagram. There's a little video with nothing in there and me just saying, goodbye. And, we moved over to GC by George Charles on Oak Street, right next to Prada. And, the staff is still there. I still see clients from years and years and years ago. And the one good thing I think that I've learned, and I really can pride myself on, is building a team. My team's still together.
Yes.
And so they're still doing their thing. And they're thriving at GC. It's a great salon. George is a good boss. The salon is growing, expanded to another floor now. So he's on 3rd and 4th floor. And it looks beautiful. And it's busy. And I believe everyone's happy. I'm there 1 day a week. I come in, show my face, do my clients,
It must be nice. Like everywhere you go every day of the week, you're seeing different people and they're all excited to see you.
Correct. Except for when I forget people's names. I'm
Side note, I've been kind of curious to ask you this. While I was working at your salon, you had created a hair product line.
Yes.
And I know it did quite well, but I don't believe it's around today. Is that right?
No, we ended up, I ended up selling it. So
You sold it.
yeah. So as you mentioned earlier, there were 3 of us when we first opened. That was the trio. And I hated the name at the beginning, by the way, because it reminded me of a chocolate bar. I was the chocolate in the middle or whatever.
Oh, no.
Anyway, so it was trio because there were 3 owners. So just to bring everyone up to speed, of course, we split up just like any other rock band. Jimmy, one of the partners, unfortunately passed away, and the other partner still has Trio Evanston in Evanston, where I believe you worked.
Yes.
And we had decided to open up a product line, to develop a product line, and we called it Baba and Theo. And I'm Greek, and Baba in Greek means dad, and Theo in Greek means uncle. So it was Baba and Theo, Uncle Phil. And so we, developed that line, and it was a full line, full SKUs. And we worked really, really hard at it. And I think it was a really, really good line. And of course, when we split up, I kept the product line. And, I had so many shampoos. It was ridiculous. Like 10,000 bottles of this and 1,000 bottles of that. And for one salon, it was just too much. So I decided to put it on the market, and I ended up selling it to TJ Maxx and Marshalls.
Oh.
And they bought the whole lot.
Wow.
And, it was good and it was bad because I
was a lot of work, though.
It was a lot of work.
Not for the faint of heart.
Yes, it was a lot of work. But it was a good journey. I learned a lot, and now I can coach people about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you do that can't enhance or benefit you.
Yeah.
I believe.
Absolutely.
Good or bad.
You also have a book out called Don't Be Late, Clean Your Brushes.
I do, yes. That should put a giggle on your face.
It does. I love it.
So Don't Be Late, Clean Your Brushes was put together. It's a bunch of short stories, and I actually have enough stories for another 2, 3, or 4 books. But Don't Be Late, Clean Your Brushes was the opening to most of my staff meetings, to the point where when we would have a staff meeting, the staff would beat me to it. Don't be late, clean your brushes, hee hee hee.
Yeah.
And so really, without it being, a huge secret, it's really the foundation for success, I think. Don't be late, clean your brushes, right? Be respectful of someone's time and make sure that your equipment is clean. Do not pull out a dirty brush and expect to charge $100 for a haircut. For crying out loud.
Yes.
Anyway, but the stories inside, and I, first of all, so apologize. I wanted to bring you a copy, and I will bring you a copy.
No worries.
So it is available. It's not really for sale. You get it free when you do a coaching session with me, or you can order it, and I'm just going to charge you shipping and handling. It's like $25, and it's filled with some short stories, anecdotes, experiences of being a salon owner, I guess, and the humility that comes with it. And when you get your copy and you read some of the stories, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that, you know. But they're just very relevant to life and today and to now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I listened to you on another podcast, and so I heard some of the stories because I haven't read the book
Yes.
yet. And Coffee Talk.
Correct.
So listeners, Coffee Talk is a what do you call it? Like a short story in your
short
book?
story.
About how, as a salon owner, he would take different staff members out, just like rotate through and say, let's go have coffee, just to get to know them and what's going on in their life and to have a better understanding. And I remember going on a Coffee Talk. I didn't know there was a title. I was scared shitless.
Yes.
I was thinking, what have I done? What have I done? I'm like, no, I was on time. I did clean my brushes.
Right.
What's happening? And but we had a nice chat, and I remember that the very next day, I don't know if you remember this, you brought me a couple CDs. Do you remember this?
I don't.
So I had said, we were talking about music. I love music, but I was saying one of my favorite genres is like the electronic techno, a subcategory called jungle.
Gotcha.
And you said, I used to listen to that in London. I said, oh my gosh, because I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, and like, oh, anything from London is fantastic. So you gave me some old CDs of yours.
Good. I'm glad.
They were fantastic. It's
I'm
rocking out.
glad. Yes. There was another, you know, of course, when people read the stories, it brings back memories. And there was another lady who said to me that she, you know, I asked her for coffee and she came and she ordered coffee and she does not drink coffee. And so for the rest of the day, she was all jacked up.
Oh, no.
So, but yeah, it was never a preface for, you know, telling anyone off or anything like that. It was like, I genuinely am interested in my people, right?
Yeah.
So, and in the book, I learned so much from people, what music they liked, what books they read, you know. So.
Well, and I should tell people, even if you are in trouble, he has the same demeanor. Hey, let's go. A very nice way, very diplomatic, or as the young kids say, charismatic.
Thank you. Okay.
I made a joke about you in a previous episode, but you can tell me later if you want me to cut this out. There was one point where you had to, I'm not going to throw myself under the bus with anything I did wrong, but on one occasion, you had a meeting with every single person because you were announcing that we had to stop doing a group healthcare plan. So I wasn't going to be getting healthcare through work anymore. Don't mean to disparage anybody, but I know that during, you know, the last 20, 30 years, everything has changed so much. Yeah. So it was not possible for you guys to be offering that anymore. But we talked about that and some other stuff, and you were letting us know. And I was like levitating out of the salon. I was like, I love my job. This is such a great salon. And I was sitting on the bus and I thought, fuck, I don't have healthcare.
Yeah.
So it's not like magic, but
right.
There's something about it. So if you say, hey, let's have coffee, you're like, I could be getting fired. I don't know.
Yeah, it was not the platform for that.
No.
But yeah. So anyway.
Now
I'm so you know, impressed at your memory.
Oh, I have a great memory.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
I'm like, what? Must be my age.
All right. So to continue with current salon business, please tell us about your hair coaching business.
So, hair coaching. I work with pretty much everyone. So, salon owners, new, old. I work with stylists, experienced, beginners, and I work with beauty school students to offer direction and some extra training too. And like I said earlier, usually most of my coaching comes through this hands-on haircutting seminar or whatever. And that's usually the intro to the coaching aspect. And I've worked with some salon owners strictly via Zoom. We talk about their business. We talk about what's happening in their business, what their goals are, what obstacles they're facing, because there are many. And sometimes you just need to get out of the rut, you know, with a different perspective. I call it other side of the coin thinking. So I may not have the solution for you, but I may offer the little push forward for you to take the necessary steps.
Look at things differently.
Yeah.
Yes.
That you need to do. So it's a gentle coaching. It's not you need to do this way.
Yes.
I don't operate that way.
Yes. Do you coach virtually a lot?
Both.
Both.
Both, yes. I was coaching some people in New York State, so of course we would do that, virtually. And then indeed some people here in Chicago where we would meet over coffee and have coffee talk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and coaching talk.
So as part of your education, I know you offer courses or bundles of courses.
Yes.
Of strictly haircutting?
So the course that I'm promoting right now is called Strictly Cutting.
Okay.
And it's either a 6 or 12 class package, for want of a better word. I like the 12 because originally it was designed to be once a month. Where I would come in and I would do my thing. And, it's not just a wham bam, thank you, ma'am class. It's a series, and we gradually get better and better and better, evolving into different things. And it's either demo or demo and hands-on. So, but there's a lot of the business coaching there too. So I always say, what's the point in being the world's best hair cutter or the world's best hair colorist if you can't market yourself properly, if you don't have a business plan behind it? So, I'm an 80-20 guy, 80% beautiful haircuts, 20% marketing, right?
Yes.
So in order for me to help promote it and push it. And that's the truth, whatever you do, whether it's cutting, coloring, perming, podcast, makeup, just that little different perspective to get you over the hump. It's very comfortable to just coast. I like to, I always say, people say, you got to step out of your box. No, I like my box. I'm comfortable in my box. But what I choose to do is to make my box bigger.
Yes, elevate the box.
Yeah, make it bigger. And that way I can have more things in it. But I'm still in my comfort zone.
Yes.
So,
do you feel that some people that are salon owners kind of feel burned out and need a refresher?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Probably because they are just overwhelmed. Systems are really, really key. Time management is key. Prioritizing. And sometimes when you're in the throes of it, you don't know. It's like you're a chef and someone's ordering, steak and eggs, and then while you're cooking tiramisu, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you organize yourself to run your business and your life better? Well, that's really, my thing. It's like, whoa, let's get you organized.
Yeah, I will say I feel like, certainly in the hair salon industry, but also in other fields, like with friends of mine, my husband, different types of leaders.
Yes.
And what is really, really productive and what is not. And I do think that you're the type of leader that actually gets results. And there's this interesting aspect of a leader where if a leader wants to be the center of attention and the front and the best, it's really not helpful to anyone except them.
Correct.
So people like yourself, where you get so proud and pleased when you see people you've mentored become the top tier of their career.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the biggest compliment.
Yeah.
I always felt that as a boss, if ever I did this, I fail. And what my role is to do this, to kind of push you forward.
Yes.
And so many times it's like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to take this away. I'm going to take that away.
Yeah.
Give people a reason to stay, to leave.
Yes.
So.
And I feel like that's kind of happening as well with the huge shift to salon suites. Part of it is if you're so uncomfortable in a salon environment, it really is kind of pushing you out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I looked at salon suites when I came back from Florida. Because really, I wasn't sure what to do with myself, and I looked at salon suites. They were attractive. I mean, they made things sound really good, and they're offering marketing and stuff like that. And I think, maybe I'm jumping the gun right now, but what's happening in the future, with AI and with software and computers, they will make things a lot easier and a lot better for the individual hairdresser. So what I love about that is that it forces the salon owner to be better as well.
Yeah.
Right? There's competition. You're not the only game in town. So if you're a shady boss,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're a booth rental place and you're not offering everything that's going to help your people, that's no good either. You do not want a revolving door of people coming in and out. But for me, my future right now is I'm getting involved with this company called Glamorous, Glamiris. And it's an AI-powered software that will really, and I don't say this slightly, and I hate to use the word revolutionize, but it'll really revolutionize what we're doing as an industry. Originally, it was designed for booth renters, right? Individuals, where this AI-assisted software would help you because you don't have the time to answer the phone or collect the money, like you said earlier on, or to market yourself. And now it's evolved where it can really help salons of any size. And it's not meant to replace a front desk, but rather enhance it. And I've seen it in action where a client will call your salon and the AI will recognize the number and it'll say, "Oh, hi, Barbara. Thank you for calling, Hugh's Salon.
Yeah.
And how can we help you?" And you'll say, "I need to make an appointment." And AI will look at your records and say, "Sure. Would that be for a haircut, color, or both?"
Oh, that's amazing.
And you'll say what you want, and you'll say when, and it'll give you options. And before you're done, it'll provide a confirmation email or text. Meanwhile, keeping track of everything that the client has purchased, all her appointments, it'll send product recommendations, it'll send reminders, it'll send birthday things. Whatever it is that the front desk does or one expects a front desk to do, AI will do it. There's even AI chat where, you're chatting to a bot and answering questions. It answers the questions. And it'll take up to 7 phone calls.
Wow.
And book appointments for you. And there's no burnout. There's no receptionist that's hungover or tired.
Yeah.
There's no one calling in sick. It's 24/7. There's no someone's, checking in, someone's checking out, the phones are ringing. Everything's just organized. And your front desk person will then be a concierge, much like the Four Seasons or the Peninsula Hotel. A concierge that will guide your clients in, offer them refreshments, give them a seat, and then go about the business.
You focused on the customer service.
Thank you. Because everything else is being taken care of by
Yeah.
AI, even payments.
That's amazing.
It's incredible.
That is really cool.
It's like an assistant. And like I said, originally designed for people in booth rental. And it is, I love this phrase. I get this from when I go to Mexico. It's almost free.
Yeah.
It's genius. But glamorous.com, check it out.
I will.
So
Definitely. I'll put this in the show notes as well.
beautiful.
All right. Circling back just a little bit because
Yes.
I was kind of interested to get your take on this. What are some of the most common challenges of people who are hiring you to coach them in their salon business?
Well, that's a great question. What I find is that experienced or a beginner, stylist or a newbie, the problems are pretty much the same.
Oh,
It's just different levels,
yeah.
and it really all boils down to prioritizing and time management. Unless it's, something like, I want to teach my staff how to cut short hair. Okay. Can they cut long hair? Yes. Well, it's just the length, right?
Yeah.
It's like this, I'm a curly-haired specialist. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Do you cut hair or do you not?
Yeah.
Can you do color or can you not? I'm a balayage specialist. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's really just giving people, again, a different perspective, a different other side of the coin thinking, and the confidence to kind of move forward and take things. Usually I find people are not making money. They're managing their money incorrectly, or they're overspending, or they're paying too much, or they're fearful of raising their prices. And again, you give someone a perspective. It's been 2 years and I need to raise my prices. Okay, great. What are you doing to do that?
Sometimes you just want someone who's been where you are, who can tell you, yes, you're on the right track,
right,
and maybe help you with the verbiage.
Right. And sometimes people like to turn the dial up to high right away, and others like to take it up 2 notches at a time.
Yeah.
Right? So again, that's where the coaching comes in as opposed to the consulting. So increasing prices for everyone might not be the way to go. You may have to look at what are you spending first, because you can save money that way. So.
Now, are you also open to coaching people in other industries?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because I find the issues are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
It's really I'm not going to say it's easy, but it really is not that difficult to kind of find the similarities of business. Whether you're flipping a burger or doing a haircut, right?
Yes.
Just flip it the best way that you can.
Well, and I think not everybody is, doesn't always come naturally to people in how to deal with their team members.
Correct. I find that most people look for the shortcuts, not shortcuts, but the shortcuts to kind of get to where they're going. And if you just use your time wisely, you don't have to find the shortcuts. You'll get there, the right way. There is no elevator to success. It's one step at a time.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking like your coaching skills are probably useful for all sorts of other small businesses.
Yeah, I'm open to talking to pretty much anyone. I was just looking away, trying to think, who would I not want to speak to? We'll see.
Well, we might have to have a follow-up episode if
that comes up. I'll tell you that on the next podcast.
Because anybody who listens to our podcast, every 5th episode is to complain. So that's good.
Complaining is good, by the way. Sometimes you just got to get it out.
Yeah. Well, I like to masquerade as being a lovely person, but sometimes I got to go out back and cuss,
Oh, the client. Oh, she this. Oh, he that. Sometimes you just got to get it out.
Yeah.
But once you get it out, get back and roll up your sleeves and flip the best burger that you can.
Yes. Something I've learned, I feel like I'm sort of midlife now. A very valuable lesson I've learned as I didn't understand at the time, but I was very much a kind of black and white thinker.
Right.
Everything is gray.
Yes.
And it's so interesting how multiple things can be true at the same time. Even my most difficult clients, and if you're my client and you're thinking, is that me? No. People that I've had to fire, if you will. Even those people I enjoy talking to.
Right.
So it's never all one thing or all the other.
Yeah. Understanding gray matter, I believe, is maturity. I remember a long time ago when I had a coach, the question was chocolate or vanilla. Well, I want both. I don't want chocolate or vanilla. I want both. I want a swirl.
Yeah.
So go for the swirl.
Now, and going back a little bit to future, I have been reading about AI use for generating social media posts, all the things it can do for a business. And it really is amazing. It's kind of like talking to a fake person who will gather everything off the internet.
Yeah.
And give you the short answer.
Yeah. What I love about this program that I mentioned, Glamorous, is that, and perhaps they're going to kill me for saying this, but I view it as a puppy dog, right? And this puppy dog is learning really, really quickly these commands that you want to give it. And your commands may or probably are different than my commands. So it isn't one size fits all. Yeah. It's this really smart system that you tell it what you want, and it gathers the information and the data for you. And that data is invaluable in your business. For example, the most easiest, you may have a client that likes to book when they leave. And then you might have another client that likes to book one day in advance. The AI will send them a reminder when they want to book, like one day in advance. Hey, Barbara has an opening, right? Tomorrow at such and such time. Our records show that it's time for your touch-up.
That's amazing. I have a lot of people that like to book rather last minute. They don't like to plan too far ahead, because their schedule is unpredictable. So, but they keep telling me they need to be better prepared because they notice one morning, oh, I really need my hair colored. Right. They go online, because most of my people book online, and they can't get in for 2 more weeks.
Right.
So it's always 2 weeks later.
Right.
But I can't necessarily, I have too many clients, thank God, that I can't, message somebody and say, hey, it's about time.
It's time to raise your prices.
Yeah. that should be the title of your next book.
Yes. So something else with this system too, for the salon owner. So a big question that popped up is, my receptionist can allocate new clients when they come into the appropriate person. Well, so can AI. And you can program AI to book that new client to your staff member that is performing. For example, Barbara is doing great. She's killing it with services and with retail. Whereas Alex, why should Alex get that client? Barbara should get it. And AI will figure that out and recommend Barbara.
Yeah. So then you're done with all the in-salon.
Yes.
I remember like
Nonsense.
nonsense. That's a good word for it. You get a front desk person, and there's a lot of like squabbling among team members. Like one thing that can come up, even if everybody likes each other, everyone wants to hang out together. But then it's like, well, why did the front desk person choose that person
Right.
for the new client?
Right.
Or, there's so many judgments, and, you're looking at it from your own perspective.
Right. My favorite was, I'm not going to say anything to so-and-so because I'm going to be put on vacation. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So, which of course is not necessarily true, but whatever.
Yeah.
You just got to get rid of those perceptions.
Yes.
And reward performance, right? We are a performance-based company. If you do a good haircut, you're going to get return clients.
Yes.
You do a bad haircut, you're not.
Right.
Right? So, that's the way it should be.
It's good for business.
Yeah.
One other thing that I heard on a different podcast about salon business was, this is kind of the bane of my existence over the last 12 years. One number, because I'm an overachiever. All my numbers
always were.
Always were. All the numbers are great. The one category, when you look at all my stats on paper, is
retail.
No,
Oh, good.
I'm actually great at retail.
Gotcha. Good.
Mostly because I only carry stuff that I really love. But that's a lot of people. The retail numbers are the ones that are pre-booking.
Oh, I love this.
And there's this whole thing about, since the internet and online booking, pre-booking isn't what it used to be, and it doesn't mean what it used to mean.
Correct.
And also, as you're saying, with this AI, it's even more so not that important. It can be so tricky because you want people to pre-book so that you know how much you're making in the future.
Correct.
But then when 50% of them are moving around and rescheduling because they can't really make that appointment they made a month ago,
right,
then this AI can figure out where to put them.
Correct. Pre-booking is super important, right? That's part of my shtick when I'm doing a demo. Whatever service you're offering, let's assume it's an hour-long service. You have to break down that hour into the elements of service that you want to provide, right? And most people think 1 hour, I'm going to do a haircut and a blow dry, that's it. No. So in that hour, you allow consultation, you allow shampoo, you allow your haircut or color, and then you allow time to blow dry, and then you allow time for retail, and then you allow time for pre-booking, right? It's part of the service. It's not whip off the cape, see you later.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you upstairs to the desk. I'm going to show you what products I used, and we're going to pre-book. Because if you're busy in December and dead in January, it's not the weather.
Right.
It's not that hair grows slower. It's not that the receptionist hates you.
Yeah.
It's because you didn't pre-book.
Yes.
Right? So the more part of the service that is, the more that people are going to do it. Now, I cut behind the chair. Do I do it every time? No. But I try and do it at least 80% of the time. Remember 80-20?
80-20.
80-20. I try and do it 80% of the time. I take them up to the desk. These are the 3 products I chose. And by the way, that's a statistic. If you show someone 3 products, 90% chance that they're going to buy 1. And if someone buys a product, they're 50% more likely to return to you. I like those stats. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
So, circling back to your hair coach and education business, when we were talking about the coaching part for a salon owner or a small business owner, that can be virtual, obviously. So how about the cutting classes that you will do?
Gotcha. So, of course, we talked about strictly cutting that I offer. I can do one-off classes as well, where I can come into the salon, and it really doesn't matter how many staff members you have. If it's just a demo, it could be 1,000. It's fine, as long as you've got the facilities for it. If it's a hands-on, if we're cutting mannequins, it could be 1,000. It doesn't matter either, right? Because we're all going to do the same thing. If it's live people, then I like to limit it to 6, 7 people at the most. I say live people as opposed to dead, but because each person is different and will require a little bit more, hands-on. I can do one-on-one with people, meaning you can hire me and I can come to your salon, or you can come to my house, or we can go somewhere and we can work on a mannequin one-on-one. They tend to be a little bit more expensive than group sessions. What I love about the education that I offer is really custom. So whatever it is that you need, I find, in fact, I have a class that's coming up in October where the owner wants me to show the team short hair. And so we're going to work on short haircuts. So, if it's long hair, if it's short hair, if it's,
If it's
classic Sassoon stuff, well, yeah, whatever you want, I'll try and teach you. As long as it's not color or perms. So,
yes.
and updos. I don't do updos anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I love that you're doing this. I was going to say consulting, but it is coaching and the education stuff, because it is really unique to have somebody who was trained in the way that you were. I wish more people with your experience were doing this.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I'm not going to say it's dying out, but it certainly is being diluted, right?
Yeah.
And you see it all the time on social media. Like, oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
But with that said, perhaps it's a trend. Perhaps it's not like it's going away. Perhaps that's just what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Where the looks are perhaps a little bit more choppier and looser and more fluid and a little bit more lived in. And, it's not about perfection. I always said I never want to do a perfect haircut because it looks like a wig. I want it to be a little, but perhaps that has just gone to a much bigger extreme. With that said, I'm so tired of beach waves. And if I see one more curtain bang, I think I want to shoot myself. And I'm kidding, of course, but because that's a look. But yeah, I want to see some pixies.
Yeah. I keep telling my clients I'm really excited because the 90s are coming back.
Yes.
And the side part. Thank God.
Yes.
And I said, finally, I'm going to be cool again, because I've been doing that the whole time.
No more middle parts, please. I fight with my daughters all the time. I have a 13-year-old and an 18-year-old. And of course, it's like, I don't know anything.
Well, I also have clients who are saying, well, you could part it wherever you want, but I will hear about it. So it has to be in the middle because my kids will not let it go.
Correct. It's funny, actually, how things have shifted, because back in the day, it was always, well, my husband likes X.
Yes.
And now it's like my children think I'm cool. Yeah.
Oh, I saw a really good video on Instagram recently where a woman says to her hairstylist, she's coming back and saying, sorry, my husband didn't like my hair.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of what we would all think would happen, he gets out a chart and is like basically describing how to find a better husband.
Oh. Well, sometimes that might be the case. Yeah.
But I will say, when I was coming up in learning hair and being an apprentice and everything, I did feel like Vidal Sassoon trained people were like the be all end all. And they are really awesome. For anyone who doesn't know the history of that, I mean, Vidal Sassoon was like revolutionary in the hair industry and really started this trend with celebrities, everybody, where the haircut is so meticulous that you can like shake it, do this, do that, and it falls back into place.
It really was precision haircutting.
Yes.
To a certain extent. And it's sad, really, because that's our industry's history. And teaching at schools and talking to youngsters, they don't really know who Vidal Sassoon was. And it's sad, but because it is a very, very important part of who we are.
Yeah.
Perhaps the looks are quite different, but it really is the foundation of everything that we do.
Yeah.
So, sometimes when I go off on a tangent and I'm teaching people and, I tell them I'm a square cutter and, visualize a box and all of that stuff, they look at me like I've got 3 heads. And, then I got to dumb it down a little bit.
Well, back to my black and white thinking, I have realized that there are some really awesome hair cutters that didn't come up from Vidal Sassoon.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
So that's not certainly the case, but it's almost like Latin, where you think of, like, where did everything else come from? Modern day hairdressing kind of came from Vidal Sassoon.
Correct. A foundation.
Yeah.
I spent 12 years with them, and it was a wonderful journey. 5.5 years in England, and then 5 years here. So it was good. But I learned a lot. I was exposed to a lot, but I had to work very, very hard. Nothing was handed to you, if you were a creative director or a manager or a senior stylist, you had to earn that. You had to work for it. And it was a lot of, you know,
well, it's kind of like the 80-20 again. Like
right.
there's, this many spots. Who's going to fight for it? Who wants it the most?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And it wasn't like you did one good haircut and that was it. You had to be on,
Yeah.
And the saying, you're only as good as your last haircut, or you're only as good as your last color, really holds true, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And there's a lot of pressure to it, if you're not feeling your best.
Yeah.
To dig deep and give the same result.
I call it tap dancing. I'm out there tap dancing every 2 minutes, so I've got to put my tap shoes on to get out there.
I gotta tell you one little thing that I'm just remembering that I learned from the senior colorist when I was training that has really stayed with me as how to keep the bar really high. That people don't necessarily think of this little thing, but when you put hair color into a bowl, a lot of us you need to use something plastic or rubber to mix it, not metal. And when you're doing that, sometimes you get some on the edges. If you think of even just mixing cake batter.
Yes.
And it's almost like a chef, where at the end, you want to clean off the edges. But if you don't do that, then you put a hair color brush in there. The color gets on the side of the brush, and then it makes a mess and could potentially get where you don't want it to be. But then who's judging the edges of your bowl? But it matters.
It matters. It's all the little things, right?
It is.
And it's usually the little things that make the difference.
Yes.
I remember back in the day at Sassoon, I would be in the office. Back then we would mail things out, and I'd open up the drawer and there'd be stamps where someone had, torn them off the roll, and there were two halves, and I'd find the two halves to put together. And when I think about me and about my work ethic, I think about that, and it tells me, yeah, I was the guy that put the two halves together. It was only back then 10 cents or whatever the hell it was, but it's integrity based, right?
Yeah.
So you want to flip the best burger. Be intentional.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on to be a guest.
It's been my pleasure. Number one, it was so great to see you.
Yes. And just a reminder to everyone to go to our YouTube and rate us, subscribe, follow, do all the things. And you can find Alex at Alex Hair Coach on all the socials, as well as his website, alexhaircoach.com.
Thank you, Barbara.
All right. That's all for now.
See you again.
Cheers.